Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here for the next 20 minutes. Today we're going to be talking about transferring to accounting. So we're going to stay in the donations module for the most part, but we are going to talk about how to link your donations module over to the accounting module and the different ways you are able to then transfer the donations that have been entered, whether you entered them manually or you imported them from some online giving, and then set up that linking to accounting so you're able to transfer the giving over into your chart of accounts easily. Feel free to ask questions if you'd like during the webinar. I'll get to those after I'm done presenting. Just expand the questions section on your GoToWebinar toolbar, type that in, and I will do my best to get you a response after the webinar. It is just me today, so I won't even look at those questions until after I'm done presenting. So if you type it in, just be patient for me until the end of the webinar, and we'll do our Q&A then. Like always, I'm recording the webinar. I'll clean the video up a little bit and then post it up on our website by the end of today. You can rewatch it, share it with someone you think might find this information beneficial, and you can find these videos at churchwindows.com. Go to our support center page, and then the most current video will be the first one in the list, and then older ones so far down the list. So feel free to check out that support center. There's a lot of really good information out there as well. So the transfer to accounting topic is from one of our workbooks. So if you go to churchwindows.com, up at the top here, go under supporting. You go under beginning too, but then go down to training and resources, and then free training webinars. That's where you would register. But for the books, you want to go to training workbooks right here. These are all of our available workbooks we have. They are $12 to download the PDF version, print it out yourself, or $22 if you would like us to print it for you, get it binder ready, and then mail it off to you. But today's topic is from our Donations 103 workbook, which is right here, and we're pages 2 through 10 and pages 20 through 22. So feel free to look through the different write-ups here, and then you will be able to see which topic kind of pertains to you and what you would like to purchase. But again, I'm recording it, so if you don't want to purchase the workbook, you can re-watch this on our support center. All right, let's go ahead and get started in donations. So one thing to keep in mind, you are not going to be able to set up your accounting links until you have your chart of accounts set up in donations, okay, or in accounting. So if you are the person who doesn't work in the accounting module, you're going to have to work with your accounting person to then be able to link up those chart of accounts and see, okay, when someone gives to, say, our general fund over in the donations module, what do we want to debit and credit over on the accounting side when we set up those accounting links to transfer the money over into accounting? All right, so keep in mind it's really important that you have that chart of accounts set up first. That way donations has those chart of accounts available to put your linking for. Okay, another thing to think about too is who's going to be doing what within Church Windows. Okay, so a lot of setups that we see is that there's one person that does the donations, and then there's another person that handles the fund accounting in the accounting module. It's not always that way, but that seems to be pretty common. Some places, if they aren't very big or they have one person who wants to do it all, they would do the donations and the accounting modules as well. But keep in mind, when you're setting up these accounting links and you're deciding where this money is going to go in your chart of accounts, you're going to need to talk to your accounting person if you just do the donations module. So it's going to take some teamwork to really figure out if someone gives to this account, what are we debiting and crediting over on the accounting side. Okay, so it's hitting the proper accounts that it's supposed to. All right, so keep in mind that open conversation is going to be great when setting up your links. There's two ways you can go about setting up your accounting links here in donations. Up here at the top, you can go to Transfer Donations and then go to Transfer to Accounting. If you go here, it's going to automatically take you to this Transfer Donations tab. As you can see, this window has 3 different tabs: Transfer Donations, Default Account Links, and Posted Transfers. Okay. And now with that being said, if you just want to jump right to your accounting links tab, you can. You'll just go up to Special Functions, Link to Accounting. It's going to open the exact same window. It's just going to take you to a different tab. It's going to take you to that Default Account Links tab. Okay. And this is where we're going to start today. So along the left-hand side of this screen, you have your giving accounts. So these are going to be all of the different giving accounts that have been set up within the donations module. They're listed over here on the left in blue. Now, if you, or I should say, I did another webinar on creating giving accounts and donations. So if you need help setting up those giving accounts in the donations module, head out to our support center and you can watch a webinar with some more information on that. But we're starting from the point of the giving accounts have already been created. That's what we're seeing here, okay? Then you have a debit account column, a credit account column, and then a prepaid credit account column, okay? Your debit account, this is going to always be an asset. So if you set up accounting and you used account numbers, it's always going to have to start with a number 1. That is actually where this money went. Okay, so think of it as what bank account did that money go to. That's going to be your debit account. Okay, always a number 1. Credit account, you have a couple options. A credit account can be a number 4, which is an income account, which is typically what you credit with donations. But it can also be a 2, which is a liability account, or it can be a number 5 over in accounting, which is an expense account. So in this credit account column, you have the option of a 2, which is a liability, a 4, which is an income account, or a 5, which is an expense account. Typically it is a 4, but it is up to you which you choose here as your credit account. Okay. Last column is a prepaid credit account. So this is typically used for those prepaid donations, and it's going to be a number 2 account, which is a liability account. That's going to be your only option here in this box. So with a liability account, we'll talk about it in a minute, that's kind of a pass-through account over in accounting. So that's going to give you the ability to transfer prepaids automatically into that liability account and kind of hold it there as a holding a tank until the new year for you to then show that money as income. Again, we have a webinar and a document on setting up prepaid. So if you want more information on that, again, head out to our support center, just search prepaid and you can watch that there. But let's go ahead and fill in our debit account here for general fund. We are going to choose our debit account. We're going to choose Huntington Bank Checking. Again, this is where you're going to need to talk to that accounting person if you don't know what needs debited and credited. And then our credit account, we're going to use an income account for this example, and we are going to go down to our general tithes and offering. So that is going to be the debit. This is going to be the credit for our general fund. Now you also have the option to put in a prepaid account. So if people are going to be pledging to general fund and they are going to give prepaid money that you don't want to show up as income in the current period, you can then put it here into that liability account. And we already have a liability account set up called prepaid pledges. Okay. Again, if you need more information on handling prepaids, head out to our support center and check out our information there on prepaids. But simple as that, that is how you fill in, just clicking in the box, hitting the down arrow, and select the corresponding debit and credit account you need for each giving account that you have. Okay. So let's go on and let's talk about actually transferring these over to accounting. Okay. Once you have these debit and credit accounts filled in as you need, when you come back over here to transfer donations, so after you post a batch, you want to send it to accounting, those posted batches are going to be waiting here for you to then send over to accounting. Now, if I hit the little plus sign here next to these date occurreds, you're going to see the different giving accounts that make up or that are part of that batch, okay? And with those different giving accounts, you're going to see the default debit and the default credit account that that money is going to go into over in accounting. Again, this screen looks at those default account links that you filled in here and then automatically fills them in back on this screen. Hit the plus sign, double check to make sure everything is correct, and then hit your post button. That's what's going to send it over into the accounting module, okay? If for some reason you're ever on this screen and you find the post button is grayed out or it's not letting you click post, one of two things is occurring. One is that one of your debit or credit account boxes is blank. So let's say you create a new account in donations, you post a gift to that new giving account in donations, but you didn't set up the default account links yet. The software doesn't know what to debit and what to credit. Therefore, when it pops in this screen, they're going to both be blank. So because those are blank, you are not going to be able to post the batch until you tell it what to debit and what to credit. All right, so that's a safeguard there. You can't hit the post button until every debit and every credit is filled in. Otherwise, the software doesn't know where to put the money. Okay, so everything has to have a debit and a credit account when posting over to accounting. Another reason why this post button might be grayed out is because this do not transfer box is checked. So there are some instances where you may have a batch or a correction sitting here that you don't want to transfer over to accounting. First instance that pops into mind is when you have an NSF check, so a non-sufficient fund check, something bounced at the bank. If that's the case, we have documentation on our website as well that'll walk you through how to handle an NSF check. But a lot of times with those, you want to reverse it in donations and then handle it separately with a journal entry and accounting for the date the bank informed you or then took out the money, maybe even had a fee. Okay? If that's the case, this do not transfer box is going to come in handy. You will check that, not send the correction over because you're handling it separately with a journal entry and accounting. Once you check this do not transfer box, this post button is grayed out. You can't click it. Okay, so that's your second instance when you're not going to be able to transfer. Either an account is missing or the do not transfer box is checked. All right. If you ever check something do not transfer, let me close out, come back in. It's going to be hidden then from this screen. To find something you've marked do not transfer, simply come up here on the top left, check show do not transfer. It's going to then come back, and if you decide actually I did want to send this over, I checked this by mistake, simply uncheck the box. Post button is going to be active again for you to send the batch over to accounting. Okay. Something else I want to point out on this screen that's really helpful as well. Let's say you have, for whatever reason, a day where donations are taken and you decide for that giving account you're going to credit a different account over in accounting. All right. So just for this one missions line here, let's say we're going to hit a different credited account. If that's the case, hit the down arrow and then simply switch it to the actual credit account that you want credited for this specific batch, okay? So you can come in here and you can change the debit and credited accounts from the default at any time, but just know that it's only changing the credited account in this instance for this one batch, okay? The next time you come in here and you have a gift to missions, it's going to default back to that missions income that is originally set up here. All right, so you can change the debit and credits on this screen. Just know that it's only for that one batch that you're waiting to send over, okay? And then post it and it'll hit the soup kitchen income instead of the default. All right, so let's talk about printing a batch. You have a couple options for printing batches here from the transfer screen. If you click to highlight a batch, hit this print selected transfer item, this is going to give you a great report, and it's going to show you just that. It's going to show you the details of that unposted transfer. Okay, so the batch has been posted because it's waiting to go to accounting. Up here at the top, it is going to say unposted, and this means it hasn't been posted to accounting yet. Okay, so if you print before posting to accounting, it's going to say unposted here. If you print after posting, which let me show you that, we're going to post it. It'll tell us transfers can be printed from the Posted Transfers tab. I'm going to go over here to Posted Transfers. Here's the batch we just posted. Here's the date and time. I can highlight it, hit Print Selected Transfers. You can change the columns if you wish. I like the default. I'm just going to hit Print. And as you can see now, instead of saying unposted, it gives me the transfer, or the transaction number, I should say, for this donations to accounting transfer report. Now it's, instead of saying unposted, it says 74. Okay, again, it's going to show you all the giving account information, the debit, the credit, the amount, the date the giving was posted, and then here's the total amount date occurred. All right, so that's the donations to accounting transfer report after posting to accounting. All right, we are moving on to page 9. There is another way you can handle transferring donations to accounting. It is, I would suggest using this second option with caution. Okay, this involves making a backup and then partially restoring the data on another machine. So, and a good example of when you would use this, obviously if you're not networked, but if you have instance of church windows at person A's house and then another install of church windows at person B's house. And let's say we need to get the data from person A over to person B. Okay. With that being said, you would come here after entering your donations. You would go to administration. You would go to backup. You would back up your entire database for church windows. You have to back everything up. There's not an option to only do one module. Back all data up. Just put it on my desktop here. Begin backup. It's taking a minute. Sorry about this, guys. There it goes. Backup completed successfully. You see the new backup just popped up here. You would then put this on a flash drive. You could try to email it, use a Dropbox, get it to person B, okay, who's doing just the donations on their side. And then from that point, you can do administration restore, browse to the location of the backup. So here it is. And then from this point, as it shows you in detail on page 10, you will need to come in here and expand your data section, and you can choose to just restore, say, accounting or something to that sort. Okay? But this is a good way for you to make a backup and then restore it, part of it on another machine. Okay? Again, this is something that isn't used commonly because it's very, very simple to override someone else's data. Okay? So use this with caution. If you have questions about backing up and restoring, please call us. We're happy to walk through the process with you. Again, this is if you have church windows computers that are not networked, that you need to move data from one to the other. Okay? All right, the last option I want to talk about here quickly is on page 20. So this talks about exporting a donations batch. So you do have the option in donations to export the batch. It's going to be a file that you then send, email, put on a flash drive, however you want to do it, to get it to another person who needs to restore that donations batch to their accounting data. So again, this is when you're using church windows in two separate instances and you need to move the donations batch. Okay, really simple to do. On the me get there, transfer to accounting screen, there is a export transfers to file button. This is going to take your batch. It's going to create a file for you that you're then going to send to someone else. Hit export transfers to file. You are going to get a warning message every time. This is normal. It's going to say this feature is intended for situations where accounting and donations are used on separate computers in separate locations, and performing a full backup and restore is impractical or undesirable. After exporting the transfer file, you will not be able to post transfers to accounting within this installation. All right. So if you say okay to this, you're telling the software that you don't have your church windows connected and you want to move the data to this other machine. Okay. Move the batch. So if that's what you want to do, say okay. It's going to ask you where you want to put it. I'm going to put it on my desktop because that's where I put everything, and then I move it later and it tells me it's been exported. All right, so now when I go out on my desktop, now I have this transfer file, and this is what I am then going to give to the other person who just has accounting on their machine. Okay. Again, if you need more information on those options, please call us. We're happy to talk through those other two options. Most people have their donations and their accounting together on the same network or even on the same machine, and then that way you would just go with the transfers that I showed you at the beginning. Okay. And that covers everything that I wanted to go over with you today.